All right, welcome to Ask the Professor. I'm your host, Professor Ben, and we get together live every Wednesday right at this time now because you're watching this live. It's 11:45 Eastern, and we talk about all things business, all things influence. We are joined today by our amazing producer, Ari. Thank you for pulling this all together like you always do. And we're also bringing in the expertise of Allison Cummins. This is your third time live on the show. Is that right?
Third time.
Yes, that's great. And Allison is the founder and CEO of Blue Outcomes and an amazing project manager, change manager. She's got the experience that we need to pull on for our topic today. So let's dive in, shall we?
Awesome. Can't wait.
All right, let's do it. So this is part two, by the way. So those of you that missed our show a couple weeks ago, we had part one talking about why change fails, why companies and teams have such a hard time changing. And we covered some really cool tools, Allison, that you shared with us that leaders can put their hands around and start using right away. Then we also covered 8 things to not do, 8 reasons why change fails in most companies. So, Ari, thank you for having that on the screen over there for us. And Allison, if I may, I'm going to raise my hand and say, I think that number one is the most important one and what I see very often of why change does not go through. And that is complacency. Now, yes, all 8 are important, but man, with complacency or without urgency in the situation, the team's dragging their feet, and it just seems like it's too easy to go back to our old ways instead of embracing that new change. So we got to fight against complacency. Allison, I'll put you on the spot a little bit here. Do you have one of the 8 things to not do, or the 8 reasons why change fails? Is there one that sticks out to you that is probably the most powerful?
Well, I agree that complacency is important. It's a big factor, but honestly, it's number 2, the lack of ownership in leaders and influencers. This sets the tone for the change. And if your leaders are not owning this change, everybody feels it and no one will buy into it.
Okay. All right. So okay. You got a good argument there for that one. So no complacency. No urgency. Just people are complacent and they're kind of dragging their feet. And then you bring up if we don't have a team that's going to rally up, kind of like a leadership team or the change champions that you talk about very often, if we don't have that, then everyone's going to look around going, are we doing this? Are we not doing this? Should I be the first one to jump in? So those change champions can really have an impact for us.
Yes, no one wants to be the first one. That's a scary position to be in. But I think as leaders, it's so important to be the guide. And then, of course, our change champions, those informal leaders who are going to really take it to the next level.
Okay, I think that makes a lot of sense. So with that, let's jump into these 8 factors that are going to help us, our leaders, all of the organizations that are watching right now, that they're going to help them implement the right pillars in order to see change carry all the way through. And remember, we're taking work from John P. Cotter. He is an expert in change. He spent over 40 years of his career studying Fortune 1000 companies and why they failed on change initiatives and what they need to do to be more successful. So let's jump into this first one here, establishing a sense of urgency. This is important, right? So the team needs to, everybody on the team, everybody involved in this change needs to understand the why. Why are we making this change? Why are we going out of our way to go do something different? And what's at stake? What are the consequences if we don't change? Right? I think that once we really understand this, once the whole team can rally around those 2 core factors, that's when we realize, okay, I got to put some pep in my step, and this change is serious, and I need to embrace it.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not just for the organization, it's also for the employees. Why is it important for them to adopt this change as well?
Ooh, okay, yeah. Let's make it kind of that with them, right? What's in it for me as an employee? Why is this important? Why do I need to embrace that change? And this is not like, we're not pointing fingers at anybody. You got to remember, we're all humans, and our brain is designed to conserve energy. That is what our brain does to survive. And so we're not going to be, kind of like you said, Allison, that first person to jump into the pond. We're not going to be the person who goes out of our way to do something that's more difficult, unless, because the other part of our brain is to make sure that we conserve our well-being, right? So if we know we have to go jump in the pond because that's an important factor of what we need to do right now, we're more likely to do it.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's good, really good. So okay, let's keep moving along, because we know that this show flies by. Let's go on to number
Sure.
2.
Before we move on to number 2, we have a comment from a recurring guest, Iris,
Oh, yay.
saying that she had a team experience before where there was a clear vision for our goals, but no urgency. Oh, that sucks.
So it goes to show how just missing one component really leaves an impact. Yeah. So yes, you got to have that clear vision. But if we're like, okay, that vision sounds great, that's really nice, if we don't understand the why, and if we don't understand what's at stake, then that's just a nice to have vision, not an urgent vision.
And really, you have to ask the question, was it really a vision? Like, if was it really important? If it was, there would be a sense of urgency. So it really kind of, makes it not as important.
Yeah. And again, unfortunately or fortunately, we're all humans. We all have this flaw. We just need to be aware of it as leaders so that we can encourage and empower our team to jump into the pond, right? To make that change. So let's look at number 2, form a powerful guiding coalition. When I read this one, I know you said this was your most important one, but every time I read this, I always think of you, Allison. So take it away. What do we need to do here to make sure we're seeing that second pillar of change?
So it's not, we talk about the leadership and how important it is for them to be the spark, right? But not everyone responds to their manager. Sometimes, when we're going through change, that is incredibly scary. If we're changing how we do our job, maybe we are afraid to, raise our hand and ask a question of, how do I do this? Like, I know you've told me, but I don't really understand. So that's why that change champion community, those informal leaders, it's so much easier for an employee to, tap on the shoulder of a peer who has now become empowered to be the voice of the people. And so now, when we're going through these change, we can tap on the shoulder of, Jill in the room next to us and be like, hey, can we walk through this together? And can you show me how I'm supposed to be doing this activity? And it makes such a difference. But the other thing it does is it provides a feedback loop, right? From the employees, the organization, back to the leaders and back to the ones who are making those key decisions. So maybe we have to have some more communication, more training. We get to have a pulse of what's actually what the people are actually feeling.
Man, so a couple of things stick out again for me on this. Number 1 is, no one in their right mind is going to have that conversation directly with the CEO, right? Like, Mr. and Mrs. CEO, what was it again I was supposed to do? Like, you got to have people around you, peer level, that can answer those questions and make you feel confident. So that makes total sense there, Allison. The other thing that really comes to mind too is, if we don't have these change champions interwoven into the team, if I do turn to the side and say, hey, how do you do this again? And they shrug their shoulders, I don't know. The whole thing's dumb. This doesn't make sense. Now that's going to spread like wildfire, right? I was kind of interested
in one naysayer.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like, having these change champions embedded into the team is going to minimize all of that. So here's a really tough question. And I think we need to get granular on this for the audience. And that is, like, how do I do this? So I'm bought in. I need change champions. How do I pick them? How do I get them to get bought in? What do I do to execute on change champions?
So let's talk about who the change champions are. So we know that they're the peer leaders, but it needs to be a diverse makeup of your organization. What does your organization look like? If your change is going across multiple departments, then you need people from multiple departments. You
Yes.
need different levels of expertise. So maybe it would be very beneficial to have, a seasoned person in your change community, but also a new person. So just
Okay.
because they may be new in tenure to your organization doesn't mean that they don't bring value. That their voice is equally as important, and because you may have other new folks in your organization that you need to hear from their perspective. So make sure, as you're making up your informal leaders, these change champions, not only is it diverse, across the organization, but the experience and expertise is also there. So it's, you want to keep that in mind. Also, I'm a big fan of, some of the louder voices now become your change champions, because if you can get them involved early, they're the ones who get the first access to the information. They're going to end up being your biggest advocates.
Okay, so for those that are taking notes, I always encourage everyone to take notes, of course. So first thing is a diverse group, right? Don't just make it your right-hand person that's always bought in. Get people from all levels, regardless of how tenured they are, people who can really be bought into that. And then pick some of the more influential, louder, maybe people on the team as well. Get them bought in, so that they can beat the drum just a little bit louder than the average person on the team. I love that part. And what's great about this is, like, when you create, you mentioned like a change community, right? So kind of a change family, is that on a healthy way, that change group can be looked at as like, hey, we're one team and we're on a mission to go help everybody else embrace this change. And that makes it easier for them to handle the naysayers, because they're going to be the front line of those naysayers as well.
Absolutely. And, if it's done correctly, the change champion community doesn't go away after this one change. You now have a community that you can tap into at any given time for your next change, regardless of how large that is. It could be anything. And now you've created a change culture.
This is great. So I feel like we've got some good tangible things that we can use to take away, some notes we can take. Speaking of which, I see Iris, Andy on the screen. All of you that are on LinkedIn or YouTube or Instagram, chime on in. Tell us where you're listening from. Ask your questions. If you can think of a question that you have, we'll make sure we do our best to get to you throughout the show. Louder people, Iris, Andy, louder people makes them feel important and even more determined to lead everyone in the right direction. Guessing that from a comment you made a couple of shows ago, being an I style, you probably can fit into that. Yes, that is true. Get the people who want to be loud, get them bought in and excited, for sure. Love that.
Well, let's very quickly, I know that we need to move on, but let's talk about the DISC in the change champion community. It's so important, because now we're making sure, if we have all 4 quadrants represented in our change champion community, now we can make sure we're targeting and providing them the right information in a way that they're able to consume.
Okay, so if we have only the loud people, that might scare away or shy away some of the S styles or the green styles of the group. It also might make the C styles maybe even a little bit more apprehensive, right? Why are they being so loud about this? Who's analyzed this change? So it's a great point. We need to make our change champions or change community, make sure that they are a diverse group also from their communication styles, like DISC or Myers-Briggs.
Yep, absolutely.
That makes total sense. Man, we're learning so much today. Thank you, Allison. So this is why you're here. It's why you get paid the big bucks to be to be on the show live. Let's go to number 3. So this is the one that one of our listeners mentioned earlier, which is create a vision. So interesting. If we don't have those first 2 parts, right? Create urgency, and then pull in a guiding coalition or pull in those change champions. Now we make sure that we've got the vision that we're announcing extra loud to the entire organization. And the goal of this vision is to be a guide, right? So it needs to be something where when the vision is out there, It's super clear. It's easy for me to remember as a frontline employee or team member. And it's my guide for what change we're going through. It's going to make my life a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely. I am a big fan of all changes, whether it's technology based, business process based, should tie to your business goals in general, because that helps people understand the why. It creates that vision of like, yes, this makes sense. Like if our strategic goal for our organization or our core values is to be innovative, well, now I understand why we're going to be implementing the latest technologies, because our goal is, or the vision for the company is to be an innovative company. So it helps.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this reminds me of Amazon's kind of vision statement, if you will, something like Earth's most customer-centric company, right? So think about that. It's one sentence. It's easy for anybody on the team to remember, and it's a decision-making matrix all in itself. So is whatever we're doing right now going to make us the most customer-centric community or company on Earth? And if it's not, why are we doing it? So that's how simple we have to make our vision so that everybody can remember it, everybody can execute on that.
Absolutely.
I think it sounds like we're on to number 4. This is great. For those of you that are taking notes on LinkedIn, if you're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube, make sure you say hey, and thank you guys for being part of the show. We got a great audience today. Communicate the vision. Ooh, okay. Okay. So I hear this one a lot, Alice. I'm definitely interested in hearing your feedback on this. It's like, oh, I did communicate it, right? I hear this from the leaders I work with, that we had a meeting on it. I sent a couple emails on it. Everybody knows about it. Everybody should be committed to this change. And yet, for some reason, it feels like it's falling on deaf ears. How do we change that?
So I think there's this idea of from a lot of leadership. Oh, well, I said it in a town hall. Everybody should know.
Yes.
No, that's not how we absorb information. It needs to be frequent. It needs to be the same and consistent. And let's talk about like consistency across the different levels in the organization. So your message for this change has to be the same from the executive team to the peer leaders, because otherwise it allows too much space for people to insert other things that may or may not be factual. So we want to keep everything aligned. It allows too much wiggle room for misinterpretation.
You know, you're reminding me of remember the telephone game like we all played in like kindergarten or first grade or whenever. I think we play it in real life in our organizations too, where we're pretty sure that's what somebody said. And no, we got it all wrong. In fact, we always encourage after every meeting that anybody hosts or holds with their team, always ask the team, okay, what did we cover today? It's very surprising to hear everyone's perception is so different of what this meeting that everybody was in at the same time was about. And so we have to make sure that it's repetitive and that it's extremely clear in order to create that buy-in. And do you have a rule of thumb? Like, is 100 times enough? Is 500 times enough? How do I know as a leader that my team is getting it and I've said it enough?
If you have to ask that question, it means you're probably not communicating enough. So when you start a change, one of the things that I love to recommend to our clients is to create a communication strategy. Identify what your channels of communication are, and it could be through town halls, it could be through emails, it could be through your intraweb, it could be newsletters, whatever that is. Lay them out in a table, then have a matrix of, who's communicating, how are you, and this also hits on the disc styles, right? So, if you create a matrix and now you have a frequency, a cadence of how often this communication is going out in your various channels. So take the time, do like 2 hours and just map it out.
Okay, so we got to have a plan. It's something that's measurable, like all good plans are, all good goals are. It's not just a matter of me just running my mouth over and over again, though, leaders should probably do that part as well too. Announce the message. We need to have a structure. What are the mediums that we're using? What are the topics we want to cover? Who's getting it? What teams are going to resonate with the specific way of distributing the information? That makes so much more sense than just saying it at a town hall and expecting everybody to have the same information in their head that I've had in my head for 3 months as I'm creating this change before anybody ever even knew about it.
Yes. And what it also does is it helps solidify for the leaders because they may have an idea of what their vision is, but maybe they're not effectively communicating it with the right words that are resonating. And so now you have a chance to really digest it yourself before you distribute it.
Okay. Hey, I can't believe this. We're over time again. We're going to get in trouble from somebody. I don't know who, but somebody's going to get us in trouble if we're here too long. So we made it to number 4. When we come back with Allison, we'll go through the rest of them. So 5, 6, 7, 8 of the ingredients to assuring your change happens quickly and sticks around. Make sure it's long lasting. So you don't want to miss this next episode. Be sure to join us. Allison, do we have a date of when you're coming back? Of course, all of our listeners should watch us every Wednesday at 11:45 Eastern, no matter what. But Ari, do we know when Allison's coming back to continue?
Yes, and it's going to be mid-September on September 17th for our 9th episode of Ask the Professor. She'll be joining us then.
I don't know if everyone can wait. I don't think I can wait that long, but okay, we'll do it. We'll have some great shows in between, and then we're going to hit it out of the park, Allison, when you come back and we go through the next 4. Does that sound good?
That sounds amazing.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Let's hit that outro music and get back to the real world.